Hello everyone, in this video we are going to introduce you to the Landcover Stage 3 nature project. So first of all, let's take a look of the content that we need to work for. So we are going to have forest, shrub, water, grass, bare land, and unpaved sports ground for this project. In most of them we have actually done before, in only the bare land and unpaved sports ground is new to us, but it's also very easy to distinguish. Then let's take a look of these characteristics for each categories. So for forest, forest is tall, it has rough texture and visible branches. For shrub is shorter and the texture is rough, is fuzzy and uneven. So comparing to the grass, which has a smoother texture, so this is a very important key for us to distinguish. And then the water, so natural water bodies such as rivers, lakes, oceans, as well as reservoirs and ponds in the industrial areas, they should be captured as water. And another one we need to note is that the docks and anything on the water, they should be ignored, and we can totally draw the whole area as water. Then it's grass. Grass is green with smooth and even texture. So this is a tip for us to distinguish between the shrub and grass. And for the bare land, so it's earthy yellow color. So it's completely without green. It's rough and uneven texture. Then lastly is unpaved sports ground. So it's a subclass of sports ground with grass or bare land texture, such as a baseball field. So that is the definition and some characteristics for each of these categories we're going to do for this Landcover nature project. As for the requirement, it's actually pretty easy that we only need to avoid major errors in large natural areas and fix obvious large boundary errors. And we can ignore missing less than 200 square meters. So it's approximately 1.5 times the size of a residential house. So if they were mistakenly drawn in the original result, there's no need to delete them. So, and lastly, it's the number 3 is ensure consistency. This is very important that the nature features with the same characteristics should be drawn as the same type. So we don't want the same characteristics feature to be, separated into two type. So we need to make sure we keep everything consistent. Number 4 is follow the original result as much as possible. Do not force the drawing of shrubs with unclear features. So if you're not sure when it's ambiguous, follow the original result and keep the consistent to other part. And extra attention, distinguish between the paved and unpaved sports field. Then it's speed tips. For shrub, so we only check for significant inconsistency or missing in large areas. If there are any, they need to be added to ensure consistency. For forest, the original results are relatively good. Only check if there are large areas of shrubs or grass missing with large forest areas. Then it's for the grass and bare land, we can differentiate them based on the presence of green color. In case where it's difficult to distinguish between the shrub or forest, shrub or grass and bare land, sometimes it could be very ambiguous, it could confuse. It's acceptable to mix them up. So it's okay to choose either category. And for the ambiguous cases, follow the system result to make your result consistent. For example, if the system result shows shrub, so it is more reasonable to draw the shrub in that area. And if the system result shows a small part of the shrub within a larger area, it is necessary to complete the surrounding areas with the same features based on the system result to ensure consistency. Lastly, completely ignore small areas or individual shrubs or trees. No need to check them. Alright? And lastly is the working process we are going to follow So first, we're going to work on the filter side. Push back if there are obvious errors in the image that are difficult to correct. Then, if you see a task that is easy to fix or it's good quality, then just edit and pass for the issue that can be easily fixed. Labeler, quickly fix obvious major errors, ensuring consistency of features. Checkers, only focus on major errors, avoid providing detailed comment. And if the issue missed by the labeler are difficult to correct, you can push back them. If they can be fixed easily, fix them and approve. Then is a benchmark. For filter, you got 15 seconds per image, and that is the benchmark to approve. If you are going to fail the task, it's going to be half of the benchmark. So it's 7 seconds for the task that is failed and 15 seconds for the task that's been approved. So I would encourage filter to do more fast editing and approve them. And the labeler is 1 minute per task, and checker is 25 seconds per task. And so there are more case studies that we can, if you are not sure what each category should look like, you can take a look and study them. Just follow the image. There are text explanation, there are arrow and a circle on it to help you to learn. All right, and we have many examples for each categories. Now let's move to the real task, and I'll show you guys how we should work on it. All right, so now let's first look at some urban task. So this is an urban residential area with some commercial and industrial buildings. For this urban task, the result is actually very good. The system result is very good. So we only need to check some big error and a big inconsistency issue. Then let's zoom into the first grid. So as for the grass, as you can see near the residential building, that is totally okay. So we don't need to look into too many details of them. And then this shrub, this small trees, along the road is totally fine, right? And for here, we can see a little bit of the inconsistency. This is actually okay, right? This is grass, a building, and this is grass. So that is also okay. And down here, it's just not much nature feature, and all being captured for grass, which is totally fine. Let's move to the second grade. Here, right? Same thing here. It's grass. It's pretty good. And continue to down there. As you can see, there are not many arrows, but for here, this is an inconsistency. So we can merge them together with the grass together. So that is some arrow that we need to look on. We should look at. And coming down here, same thing here, right? So this area is actually all grass. You can see the green stuff on it. So let's merge them with the grass together. And same thing here, right? This area is also, but this is okay to ignore, right, guys? This is less than 200 square meters, so that we can ignore. And let's keep going. All grass, good. And for here, we can see this inconsistency because this area is also actually grass. So let's just merge them with the grass above it, and something here. So this is a big area, this big inconsistency that I was talking about. All right, and let's move to here. This area is also grass actually, so let's change it to grass. And this building here, that is okay, that's too small, right? That's less than 200 square meters. And now this task is done. Very, very easy. And we only fix some inconsistency near the residential building. Then let's continue to another urban residential task. So let's take a look. All those forest, and so as you can see here, right, this is not forest near the residential building, and this is a little bit too big. So what we can do, we cut this part and switch the category to grass, and that makes this more consistent. And for here, this small arrow we can ignore, but as you can see, this area is good with the grass. And those small arrow like this, in the backyard of the residential building, like small arrow like this, is totally okay to ignore. And just we are looking for the big arrow, we are looking for the big inconsistency. All right, and those small arrow we can ignore. But for here, right, for here, this is not consistent. Right, for this area, system labeled as forest, but this area system labeled as grass. So that is not okay. We're going to do some cutting at here and merge this one and switch this one to forest, which makes more sense and make it consistent with the neighbor part. And something here, like this is pretty big. And we need to cut this part out and change it to grass, make it more consistent with the one we just did here. And then the small area near residential building, that looks good, but there's one big area is inconsistent. This is the same category, right? This is the same feature. This area has shows the same feature, but it has different category for them. In this case, as you can see, this area also actually has some green on it, so it's better to switch this one to grass. And those small shrub near the residential building, we can ignore them, right? The grass looks good, and small forest, yeah, the small area, that's good. Let's move to here. Forest, shrub, grass, that looks good. That's pretty good. But for here, that is not consistent. This one is too, it's too low. It's not big enough. It's not tall enough to be a forest, right? So in this case, we can make it consistent. It's better to change it to shrub. And those small grass, small bare land near in the forest, that is okay to ignore. And there's nothing much else to edit. This is okay to be grass, single tree, totally ignore, and that's it. This task is also done. It's pretty easy and simple. Let's check one more task. Zoom into the first grid. As we can see, this is also half residential, half rural area. So check it. When we check the residential area, just guys, you don't need to go into every building like this. This will take you too long. You just need to stay around this level, and if very obvious and big arrow pops up, you can go in there and fix it. All right, and you can see the grass and forest are pretty well captured, and there is a little bit inconsistency. This area is not forest, right? So in this case, we can cut this part out, and the boundary doesn't need to be very perfect. All right, so grass, and forest grass is pretty easy to distinguish, and no need to go into zoom in a lot and check those small detail. It's very important to keep your speed up, and those bare land looks actually pretty normal and regular for me. I will accept that, and it's actually less than 200 square meters. And this one here is distinguished pretty well, but this one here is not well, right? This part is still kind of grass, and it's very big, so we're going to change that. Forest grass, that's good. Forest grass, and for this part, there is a little bit inconsistency because this part is actually the same thing as this one, right? So it's pretty big. That's important, and we can change that to grass. It's better. And a single tree that we can totally ignore. So bare land along this grass, that is okay. And for grass, and this part bare land is a little bit too big, so it's better to merge it to grass as well. This part is okay, and the rest of it looks good. So this task is done very fast. So as you can see, I am ignoring a lot of details, and I'm only look for the obvious inconsistency, obvious big arrow, and do not zoom in a lot like this to fix it and fix the boundary very perfectly. the speed is the key. So just zooming like around this spot for this big error and big inconsistency. And now let's take a look at some rural area task. So this is agricultural area, and since we don't have an agricultural category this time, for this kind of agriculture field, we just need to make sure everything is being labeled as grass. All right, and then let's take a look at this forest and baleland. So it's pretty good, except a little bit different, a little bit missed consistency on here. So it's okay, just to fix that. And other than that, rest of it is pretty good. So and one last thing is here, it's not being captured pretty well. So change this and this part as well. So just make sure they are consistent. And now this task can be submitted. Let's continue to see more rural tasks. So this is a water area, and we as a requirement, this water needs to be drawn into the real bank, which is here, right? So this baleland is clearly wrong. So in this case, let's just capture everything as water, and for here, it's being classified as shrub. That is okay. So this task is done. So as a filter, you can do such small editing and submit. And now we got this neighbor task that we just did. So let's change for agriculture to grass, and then check it again for this area. System label pretty well, right? There's no inconsistency. So in this case, let's just submit. As for the rural area task, this kind of system label everything as shrub. Just don't need to hesitate and overthink to see if this is shrub or forest. Just accept system result and submit, because there's no other arrows here, right? It's pretty good. Let's continue to see more rural area task. So the forest. The shrub in the middle, that looks good because the one in the middle looks shorter than the other forest, right? So that is okay. And this one in the middle as well. But let's see. Actually, this one in the middle is the whole area here, right? The whole area down here looks shorter than the forest we got here. So it's better to make it consistent and use a cut tool to cut this part out and change the category to shrub. And this is forest, that is okay. And for here, this is ambiguous, right? So looks like this part is taller than the other two. So that's okay, we keep it as forest. So this task is done very easily. Okay, we can submit now. So one important thing to remember is that we keep everything consistent. So that is the editing we did to make sure the consistency of this feature, of each feature. So like this one, right? This one in the middle has been classified as forest by the system, but actually there are a few. Oh, sorry, it's been classified as grass by the system. And let's see. The other shrub looks good. And there's a little bit, missed grass in here, which makes it inconsistent. So I will change this one to grass, and maybe something here. So you don't need to be very precise. Just make sure that overall this area has been classified. And that's it. That's good for this task. Oh, sorry. That's one more thing that's here. This area should be forest because, as we can see, this forest is consistent, right, with this one here, and it's taller. This area is taller than this area, so it's better to label this as forest. Now we can submit. So more rural task, right? Let's see. For it, this being classified as shrub, but that is not very consistent with this shrub here. So in this case, this is better to classify as grass, and this one is okay to be shrub. All right, so we only need to change this one, and the rest of it just accept the system result. Submit. Now let's continue. So for this one, this small area has been classified as water. That is totally unnecessary, so we can simply merge it all together as shrub. And as a filter, I also have something to remind you guys that before you submit, it's better to do a topology check to be very quick, because at stage 3 of Landcover project, we are supposed to fill in the whole area for the whole task. So there will be no gap. Everything should have a category to fill in, right? We have the building, we have the stage 1 feature, we have the stage 2 feature, and stage 3. So at stage 3, we should fill in everything, and so like this one, we will have like a gap that will not allow you to submit. So in this case, just use the fill in tool to fill in those gap to make sure your whole map is being filled. So now the task is done. We can submit now. So that'll be everything for this training video. As you can see, it's a very easy project. Just keep in mind that make your result consistent. Focus on the big arrow only. Don't go into the details. And when you are confused, just follow the system result for the heap. All right, for the hint, like this one. One more thing, right? So this one, we just follow the system result. No need to be confused with those, some water, something like that. Just everything as forest to make it consistent. And this is not water, obviously. So just capture everything, fix everything to forest, and the task is done. Very easy work. So I hope you can enjoy this project, and goodbye.